Hi there, I'm the Mythkeeper. Welcome back to my channel. By popular request, we're going to tackle some more ancestries this week. I have 8 new ancestries, kind of a random collection, a grab bag of stuff that I hadn't already covered. Ancestries that were requested, ancestries that I like. We'll see what happens. Enjoy.
This week, I'm doing another ancestry video, this time focused on a more or less random collection of ancestries I didn't get to in my previous videos. I'm covering 8 new ancestries: Catfolk, Hobgoblins, Kobolds, Leshy, Lizardfolk, Samsaran, Tengu, and Vanara. There's a lot of ancestries to cover, so let's get through it. The Amurun, or Catfolk. Believed to originate somewhere in central or southern Garand, Catfolk live everywhere around the Inner Sea. Catfolk legends claim that when Golarion was first created, the gods made Catfolk to be guardians tasked with hunting threats to the young world. They consider their nation of Muraseth in southern Garand their hereditary home, though the allure of travel appeals to many Catfolk. Propelled by their culture of discovery and bursts of restless energy, they've spread across the world since ancient times, pursuing their love of company and their ancient sense of duty. The ancient Catfolk diaspora has established distinct cultures and ethnicities around the world, though many of them live among other humanoids so consistently that they rarely form separate settlements. Askedaki are a diaspora catfolk commonly found in Vudra, Jalmaray, and Nex. They tend to have striped hair or fur and wear light clothing suitable for travel in oppressive heat and humidity. Most eke out their living as nomadic traders. Their warriors traditionally hunt tigers, rakshasas, and other creatures that prey on humanoids. As a mark of prestige and culture, Askedakis usually wear the most expensive jewelry they can afford in a variety of styles. They view long fangs as an attractive sign of strength, and their artists and artisans have developed various techniques for enhancing one's fangs with metal. Mitsenkis are indigenous to the crown of the world in nearby Arctic regions, such as Iobaria and northern Arcadia. They often appear taller and brawnier than most other catfolk, and they have either striped or spotted fur that ranges from white to lightly colored. Their home conditions mean these catfolk rarely encourage leaving their communities or traveling abroad, so they like to know everything about their community and their neighbors. Mitsenki armor, weapons, and clothing traditionally feature leather and prominent bones. The diasporic Kitaj catfolk are common in Kalesh, including some parts of eastern Kadira. They tend to have yellow or green eyes and striped bronze or yellow fur. They frequent the busy sunny marketplaces of Kathir and other major cities, as well as journey through major travel hubs and oases across the empire. Kitaj catfolk also use surnames, an unusual practice among their kind, generally taking on an ancestor's title as the clan surname. They're also some of the most religious catfolk, often worshipping Sarenrae. Sethurils are the most populous catfolk ethnicity in Garand and Avestan. Their ancestral home of Muraseth has stood as a rich and influential cultural touchstone since the Age of Darkness, leading many to equate catfolk culture with Sethuril culture. Sethuril fashion favors eye-catching multicolored garments with puffy sleeves or flowing cloaks. They're especially likely to worship Desna, whom they depict as a kindred catfolk explorer and hunter of monsters lurking at the world's edges. Many believe Shemtej catfolk to be favored children of Bastet, and wardens of dangerous spirits found in the remote deserts of Osirian, Thuvia, and Rahadum. Male Shemtej catfolk are known for growing full leonine manes. Their culture prioritizes free love, and Shemtejes largely disavow formalized marriage in favor of more fluid relationship structures. Nomadic family groups known as trains constantly change membership. Lovers come and go, children grow up and seek their own paths, and elders leave to pursue their own personal goals. Hobgoblins. Hobgoblins are tough, efficient, and disciplined people. These tall, muscular humanoids resemble goblins who have been stretched to the height of a human. Most live in regimented social structures, usually modeled after military hierarchies. Their commitment to order and generally harsh, unsentimental outlook on life often make it difficult for hobgoblins to earn allies outside of their own kind. Hobgoblins live throughout the Inner Sea, usually in insular and ordered settlements. A large population of hobgoblins reside in the Avestani nation of Isgur and among the forests of the Eye of Dread and the Shining Kingdoms, though even these groups tend to live in small settlements or mercenary bands, thanks to a decline in hobgoblin population since the Goblin Blood Wars. These are some of the largest and most notable hobgoblin settlements and organizations found throughout Golarion. The Bandu Fleet. The Vidrian Revolution, an ultimately successful attempt to overthrow colonial rule in the former state of Sargava, provided an opportunity for the hobgoblins of the Bandu Hills in the central Mwangi Expanse. War had ignited the nation, and hobgoblins were eager to participate, allying with several free captains and joining the pirates' ranks in an attempt to quell the revolution. As the tides of war turned against the Sargavan elite and the free captains, the Bandu hobgoblins recognized two truths. They were on the losing side, and any attempt to return home would surely end in their death. Seizing opportunity amidst the chaos, they stole a fleet of free captain ships and set out to start a new life at sea. The Bandu Hobgoblins, now sailing under the flag and moniker of the Bandu Fleet, have come to enjoy traveling the waves, applying their militaristic tenets to the nautical lifestyle. Members of the Bandu Fleet act as mercenaries, selling their services to anyone willing to provide the supplies and funds needed to keep their crews fed and ship repaired. Maintaining sizable crews can be difficult, so the Bandu Fleet also takes on a smattering of sailors from other ancestries. Forced to accept whatever sailors and jobs they could find, Bandu Hobgoblins have become rather affable, at least by Hobgoblin standards, earning them a surprisingly positive reputation among the ports of the Shackles. They're seen as particularly efficient, capable sailors, especially compared to some pirates from other regions. The Cowling. Life among the Hobgoblins of Cowling, an Hobgoblin nation in central Tianxia, is especially regimented. Cowling's rise to prominence was built on brutal commitment to structure and discipline that secured the nation's place among the Dragon Empires and instilled a deep sense of order among its populace. More than the members of other Hobgoblin communities, citizens of Cowling are used to living as part of a rigid hierarchy. Even civilians in Cowling hold a specific rank and status within society. Any efforts to rise above one's rank outside the approved or official methods are met with swift and harsh punishment. The Cowling way of life often produces Hobgoblins who are particularly cold and distant, even by Hobgoblin standards. Many expect treachery from their compatriots as a matter of course, making it difficult for them to trust anyone but those allies gained during times of shared hardship. Oprak. Hobgoblins' regimented lifestyle has found new applications in Oprak, the Hobgoblin nation founded by General Azursi, nestled in the Mindspin Mountains. To solidify themselves as an independent nation, the Hobgoblins of Oprak have shifted their focus from warfare to economics. Entire squads of Hobgoblins now dedicate themselves to specific trades, such as alchemy, farming, mining, or smithing. Their military training colors these pursuits. Expert crafters in Oprak drive their apprentices with the same brutality that lieutenants use with their soldiers. An intense dedication to commerce and the creation of magical roads to the plane of Earth have enabled Oprak to become an economic powerhouse in just a few years. In addition to trade, General Azursi has pushed for strong focus on diplomatic skills among her highest-ranking officers. These officers drill tirelessly on their manners, knowledge of local customs, and overall charm, receiving severe discipline when they offend without permission or give in to an urge for retribution. Raklo. Deep beneath the surface of Golarion lie the Darklands, a vast network of caverns and tunnels that sprawls beneath multiple continents. Hundreds of settlements dot the seemingly endless span of the Darklands, and among them, below the continents of Tianxia, is the fabled Hobgoblin city of Raklo. It was long considered no more than a legend to Hobgoblins on the surface, until Oprakan delvers accidentally discovered this vast city built into the stone. The Hobgoblins of Raklo have a flourishing civilization, thanks in no small part to the rigidity of their lifestyle. This structure assigns each Hobgoblin a role in support of the city. Some Hobgoblins act as food gatherers, some use their skills to mine for valuable resources, and others use their combat skills to defend the city. Hobgoblins in Raklo have adapted the harsher nature of the Darklands, riding massive bats and centipedes, using unique alchemical concoctions to sustain their crops, and relying heavily on each other for support. They have learned to share what knowledge and resources they have with others to improve everyone's chance at survival in the merciless Darklands. These Hobgoblins are eager to learn what they can from others, but are also willing to commit brutal acts to defend themselves or those they trust. Kobolds. Kobolds live throughout Golarion, with hundreds, if not thousands, of tribes located in the Upper Darklands, and some secluded, often difficult to traverse service locales. Smaller tribes often manage to find a niche so minor that no others bother to contest them for it, while larger tribes forge alliances with powerful patrons, usually dragons, that they serve in return for protection. While kobolds can often pose a nuisance to members of other ancestries, they rarely gather in huge numbers, and aren't known for forming massive armies to siege cities or attack nations. When they present a greater threat, it's often in conjunction with some other creature or group, such as a patron dragon or a group of larger allies. These allies are usually credited with being the true threat, so small kobold groups have gained a modest level of acceptance among settlements that are otherwise unkind to outsiders. A band of 20 to 30 kobolds might be seen as a raiding party, and an assembly of hundreds would certainly be received as an army, but a single kobold, or a group of 4 to 6, is generally seen as an annoyance at worst, and more often a curiosity. After all, how much damage could just a few kobolds do? Rather than take offense at this attitude, kobolds see it as a sign of other ancestries' foolishness. Immensely practical, kobolds happily take advantage of their reputation as cowards and weaklings. Many kobolds are perfectly happy to cringe and grovel to survive, never feeling any shame for doing so. This is due in large part to kobolds' self-confidence. They are told from hatching of their kinship to dragons, and there's nothing others can say or do to reduce this glory in any way. The following are some of the best-known tribes of the Inner Sea region. The Dankblades. The black-scaled Dankblade tribe tunneled their way from the Darklands into a sea cave on the Shackles Raptor Island. They soon discovered that the nearby pirate battles and dangerous nautical hazards frequently caused useful goods to float ashore. The tribe delightedly accepted these seaborne tributes, took to dressing in any nautical garb they could find, and renamed themselves the Dankblade crew. They sell whatever they can scavenge, and passing ships have learned it's easier to treat with the Dankblades than to fight them. Prime bits of salvage are offered to the brine dragon Macasmero, who flies by from time to time. There's no formal alliance between the Dankblades and the dragon, but the Dankblades see no reason to tell everyone else that. The Embermaw tribe. In the Cinderlands, beneath the Mindspin Mountains in Varisia, the Embermaw tribe continues to expand its kingdom beneath the feet of unsuspecting surface dwellers. Allies of the red dragon Sasgatharax, Embermaws are red-scaled, broad-shouldered, and uniquely muscular. They mine the Cinderlands, forge fine tools and weapons, protect their patrons' eggs, and fend off fire giants, azers, and salamanders. The Glassclaws. The Glassclaws are an old tribe that operate near and sometimes within the city of Katapesh. Unlike many larger kobold tribes, they have no patron, but they do have friendly relations with at least one sphinx, for whom they run errands. Small even for kobolds, with yellowish scales and subdued features, the Glassclaws work to ensure that no one ever breaks Katapesh's famous glass pyramids. They claim they were given this task by a celestial entity 100 generations ago, and dismiss any claims that the glass pyramids aren't that old. The Ice Renders. The Ice Renders inhabit hundreds of tunnel warrens within the Tusk Mountains in the realms of the Mammoth Lords. Their white scales and icy blue eyes serve as excellent camouflage, which they use to set ambushes on passing caravans. They choose a new pass every few years, clearing it of ice and snow to make it inviting to travelers. Their lord, the dragon Lydek the White, attacks caravans that try to pass to the south, encouraging the use of the Ice Renders' passes. Ice Renders only set upon caravans that won't be missed or that have truly valuable loot, though some of the tribe have begun to wonder what opportunities might lie at either end of these caravans' journeys. The Sewer Dragon. The tribe that became the Sewer Dragons first tunneled into Absalom's subterranean drainage system in 4696. The Kobolds quickly found that their aptitude for navigating tight spaces, mapping complex subterranean tunnels, and marking new passageways posed a highly sought-after skill set beneath the city at the center of the world. The Sewer Dragons have a much broader range of coloration than many Kobold tribes, in part because they happily accept any Kobold willing to work. The tribe continues to grow its reach and political influence in Absalom, almost becoming its own guild within the city. Leshy. Leshies are immortal spirits of nature, called into physical bodies through primal rituals. While early Leshies originated as guardians of natural habitats, who rarely strayed far from their birthplaces, a few went on perilous journeys to attack threats at their source. These wandering spirits became easier to draw into future creation rituals. With each passing generation, Leshies with a penchant for adventure have become increasingly common. Leshy bodies can be made of numerous possible building blocks, like petals, leaves, barks, and mushrooms. The rituals to create Leshies can include almost any plant or fungus part, though most are primarily built from a single species, which gives individuals their most distinctive features. A newly created Leshy is at once both young and ancient. They view the world with childlike wonder and curiosity, relishing the chance to experience a world with fresh eyes once again. Though their spirits may be ancient beyond the reckoning of most ancestries, Leshies consciously recall little of previous lifetimes. Leshies typically find the significance most ancestries attach to numerical age a curiosity. Still, the past has a powerful impact on a Leshy spirit, shaping their personality, interests, and priorities. Leshy bodies don't age, and are theoretically immortal. With such long lifespans, even the most daring Leshies find value in periods of patient reflection. Leshies value their lives, but they don't hold the same fear of death that plagues other ancestries. They know that once their bodies fall, their spirits will return to the natural world. Indeed, Leshies rarely wish to live forever in the same form. As the centuries pass, a Leshy who has lived a rich life full of new experiences and insights gradually spends more time in reflection and meditation. At the culmination of these reflections, their spirit flies back to rejoin other spirits of nature, ready to absorb all that it has learned and begin the cycle anew. Leshy kinship groups are based on mutual bonds of loyalty and trust rather than biological relationships. When Leshies gather with others of their kind, they band together in nomadic groups, or sometimes in long-term villages near areas of primal significance. Such groups often include a druid with knowledge of the rituals that create Leshies, allowing their group to grow or even call back their lost members into new bodies. When governing themselves, Leshies usually defer to expertise and wisdom rather than arbitrary classifications like wealth or social status. Leshy settlements flourish in all manner of natural locations, from forest treetops and prosperous fields to deep caverns, desert oases, and even kelp forests surrounding flourishing coral reefs. Leshies don't limit themselves to only the most pristine natural locations. They can be found in nearly any corner of Golarion that supports plant life. Leshy scholars group leshies into broad categories based upon the leshy's primary building blocks. Most common are leaf leshies. They can arise from leafy plants, but most often form from trees or shrubs. These graceful leshies tend to be boastful, enjoying mock combats and other dramatic performances. Gourd leshies have hollow spaces within their heads, which they use to store the most valuable possessions. This secure and private space makes them more likely to hold cherished keepsakes. Fungus leshies can be quite sociable with other ancestries. They tend towards introversion, needing quiet time spent in dark and cozy caverns to recover after loud events. Vine leshies, by contrast, rarely enjoy being alone. Much as vines scale trees and climb cliffs to reach for sunlight, many vine leshies thrive in the presence of friends, and they don't shy away from asking for help when they need it. Fruit leshies are similarly gregarious and tend to be nurturing and generous towards their companions, sometimes too much for their own good. True to their spiny exteriors, cactus leshy are known for being abrasive, sarcastic, and slow to trust. However, those with patience to earn a cactus leshy's friendship find themselves with an unswervingly loyal and unflinchingly honest ally. Similarly, root leshies are hard to win over, not because of their personalities, but because they tend to live at a slower pace, taking longer to warm up to others and making important decisions. Carefree and playful, many seaweed leshies happily ride along with the ebb and flow of the tides. Meanwhile, lotus leshies are thoughtful and fond of dispensing wisdom in the form of cryptic advice. Interestingly, although foreign scholars often divide leshies into the aforementioned categories, the leshies themselves distinguish themselves into cultural groupings based on their affinities and tastes. This is the leshy equivalent of a cultural heritage or ethnicity. These groups include the Guardians of the Green, who take their traditional role as protectors to heart, and are the most likely to worship Gosray or to follow the Green Faith. Reflectives value honesty and clear-eyed introspection. They're particularly sensitive to changes around and within them, such as the cycle of seasons and the ways they grow from their experiences, though they often embrace these changes and revel in their beauty, content to spend hours in meditation. Ritualists are collectors. In addition to gathering objects significant to their current lives, they also proclaim the hidden power in other objects. Sometimes dismissed as mere superstition, these pronouncements are typically rooted either in their innate sense of other nature spirits or in faint memories of their past lives. Sunbeams value diplomacy and alliance building. Best known for their cheerful disposition, sunbeams aren't without guile. Many willingly use trickery or manipulation to avoid conflicts or to secure advantage. Thorn sparks are hot-headed and quick-thinking, and are the first to spring into action against anyone who would dare threaten their allies or wards. Wander souls constantly seek out new experiences, often spending their lives as travelers, explorers, and storytellers. Lizardfolk. Lizardfolk, also known as Iruxi, are one of Golarion's most storied ancestries, thanks in part to their perpetual ability to adjust to new environments. Along with this adaptability, they are skilled as astronomers and survivalists, and their oral traditions date back millennia. Outsiders often don't perceive the finer subtleties of Iruxi culture. Many humans have trouble even telling individuals apart, relying on only obvious details like scale color and fin size. In truth, Iruxi civilization is rich and varied, with dozens of ethnicities across Golarion, including several in the Inner Sea region. The Isari. When most Avistani think of lizardfolk, they picture Isaris. Immediately identifiable by the dorsal fins that start atop their heads, Isaris tend to have scales of mottled dark green or blue that pale with age. Primarily swamp dwellers, Isaris eschew unnecessary clothing, opting for simple tabards, loincloths, arm wraps, and cloaks. They live across Avestan, especially to the west, though they've lost much of their historic territory to other ancestries. Family trees are vital to Isari culture. Every Isari can recite their clan lineage, and the bones of their precursors likely fortified the walls of their childhood homes. Even the most non-traditional Isari has a spiritual connection to their ancestors that their closest companions might never suspect, until it saves their lives. Ikalek. At first glance, Ikalek Iruxi resemble their Isari neighbors. Instead of a fin, Ikaleks typically have dorsal spines, or no adornment at all, and their duller pebbled scales tend towards browns and greys, amid olive greens. Their reach across Golarion isn't as broad, mainly concentrated among the waterways and forests of the Broken Lands and Shining Kingdoms. Ikalek architecture and crafts favor using glass, made from colored sand, acquired in trade with their desert kin to the east. They are superlative javelin throwers. Some take up archery. Battling the pollutants and monsters that wash down from the Eye of Dread has made Ikaleks revere the druidic arts and nature deities like Gosray. However, isolated settlements sometimes fall under the sway of other forces, and some in the wilds of the river kingdoms worship demons or crueler patrons. The Sand Brethren. The deserts of northern Garin and western Casmaran house Lizardfolk clans such as the armor-scaled Hazairs, blood-spewing Shaikims, dune-surfing Barukas, and camouflaging Nazegs, united by their love of the hot sand, independence, and privacy. Many have adopted the heat-resistant cloaks and head wraps of their human neighbors, which also serve them when they want to roam Kalesh's city streets without comment. While Sand Brethren vary wildly in physiology, they share the traditions of hospitality, desert flower cultivation, and scimitar sword dances that involve nicking the tips of their rivals' tails. The slender Zephyrkin nocturnal traders share news and tall tales from Rahadum to Taldor, and into Casmaran, reinforcing the shared culture of the otherwise disparate Desert Iruxi. Tirwazash. Outside of Droon, western Garand is the center of Iruxi culture, and Tirwazash Iruxi certainly hold themselves as paragons of their ancestry. Tirwazash are brightly colored, usually with green scales and paler underbellies, though historical association with dragons and lunar nagas means that entirely white, black, and emerald individuals also appear. They also tend to have expressive fin and neck frills, and have strong artistic traditions, focused on jewelry. The clothing they wear is made of waterproof materials such as woven reeds. The Samsaran. Mysterious humanoids with pale blue flesh and transparent blood like the waters of a trickling brook, Samsarans are ancient creatures even in their youth. A Samsaran's life is not a linear progression from birth to death, but rather a circle of birth to death to rebirth. Whenever a Samsaran dies, it reincarnates anew as a young Samsaran to live a new life. Her past memories remain vague and indistinct, and each new incarnation is as different a creature and personality as a child is to a parent. Samsarans appear superficially similar to humans, but with blue skin tones that vary in shade from dark navy to sky blue. They generally have dark hair and solid white eyes, with no pupils or irises. Samsarans prefer to live simple lives of reflection, scholarship, and worship. They try to live their lives free of ambitions and greed that mortality often imposes, since they view their lives as only the latest incarnation of many to come. They may sometimes appear to have a lack of urgency, as any accomplishments left undone in their current life can surely be achieved in the next, or the one after that. Samsarans' memories of their past lives are not complete. They most often feel like half-remembered dreams. Samsaran couplings rarely lead to new births. A newly born Samsaran is considered a miraculous event even among Samsarans, as it means a new immortal soul has entered the universe. This birthing challenge is not due to infertility, but to the unique and rare nature of the Samsaran soul. Many Samsarans do in fact have children over the course of their many long lives, but they do so by coupling with mortal humans. Yet when this occurs, they do not give birth to Samsarans. Instead, they birth normal human children. Typically, such Samsaran will make sure the child is then raised in human society, even if this means being apart from them, so the children can grow up and can live normal lives. It is said, however, that upon death, on rare occasion, such offspring sometimes reincarnate as Samsaran children, but only if they live their lives in keeping with harmony. While most Samsarans who die also reincarnate as Samsaran children, this is not always the case. When a Samsaran achieves perfect harmony, her soul instead travels to the great beyond to receive its final long-delayed reward. It is said the reverse is possible too. When a Samsaran has utterly failed at maintaining harmony in her current life, they may also not reincarnate, though what this means exactly, the Samsaran prefer not to think about. Samsarans do not keep family names, but often retain the names of their previous one or two incarnations, regardless of gender, as a sort of replacement for a family name to honor their previous lives' accomplishments or to remind them of their past shames. Tengu. Perhaps in reflection of their patron, the storm god He Feng, trouble and turmoil has filled the recent history of the Tengu people. The Tengu spent more than 400 years as a persecuted underclass in the empire of Lunghua. Many Tengu fled their ancestral homelands during this time, taking boats to Arcadia or risking the deadly journey across the crown of the world in search of a better life. Even now, with Lunghua 100 years gone and the Tengu homeland of Kuan-Lai regained, the Tengu diaspora remains. Established Tengu enclaves tend to have long and storied histories behind them, with proud legends, traditions, and social roles passed down from generation to generation. Common Tengu cultures include Jinx feathers. The most common Tengu found in the Inner Sea region, Jinx feather Tengu eke out their living along the coast of Garand, often in fishing villages around the Shackles. They descended from migrants who traveled from Tianxia for easily available work as sailors, dock workers, and fishers. Garand proved the most attractive for many Tengu due to a curious superstition among the sailors of the Shackles, that Tengu eat and negate bad luck, making their presence valuable on sailing ships. Many Tengu found the role of Jinx Eater on a sailing ship to be a relatively privileged position. Today, Jinx-Feather Tengu often play up this legend to increase their perceived worth, though this practice has also led to Tengu youths being kidnapped and press-ganged. Kawa Tengu. One of the rarest ethnicities of Tengu, Kawa Tengu focus much of their communal efforts on isolationism. These river-dwelling people largely keep their presence a secret from others. If not for their regular harassment of fishers and traders in Lungwa successor states, their existence might have remained completely hidden. While generally misanthropic towards others, Kawa Tengu have been rumored to accept rare jobs as smugglers, saboteurs, and assassins. Kawa Tengu are the most likely Tengu to have unusual feather colors or patterns, and many possess brown feathers or white striped patterns throughout their black plumage. Konoha. Konoha Tengu reside in the Forest of Spirits in Tianxia. With smaller frames compared to most Tengu, they often tend towards simple clothing or none at all. They commonly inhabit trees near water, playfully snatching fish out of rivers, and their kilns and forges provide the only trappings of advanced technology. They express curiosity and friendliness for those that simply wish to pass through their homeland, but rapidly turn cold towards any who seem interested in settling permanently, or otherwise troubling the Forest of Spirits. Quanlai. The single largest concentration of Tengu on Golarion resides in the nation of Quanlai, part of the ancestral homelands of the Tengu people. Though the citizens of Quanlai take pride in their country and heritage, they are people of strong passions and strong contradictions. Some revere beautiful shrines crammed in the forgotten back alleys of ill-planned slums, while others boast of beloved family heirlooms before gambling them away in low-class dice halls. Few peoples can claim a stronger sense of solidarity than the Tengu of Quanlai, however, who still cherish the strength of community that helped them survive more than 400 years with an uncertain future. Taka Tengu. Residing among the tall mountain peaks of Minkai, Taka Tengu notably appear much taller and broader in stature than other Tengu. They highly value asceticism, martial prowess, and discipline. These Tengu prefer simple clothing and muted colors, often matching the style of other Minkai ascetic groups. Taka Tengu tend to focus on the elements of a simple life, centering their days around farming, crafting, and training for combat. All Tengus are responsible for providing for the community. Beyond that obligation, they can focus on whatever art, craft, or combat style catches their fancy, so long as they excel at it. Taka Tengu have a reputation of being the finest warriors and swordsmiths on Golarion, and take great pride in this prestige, meaning Tengu who can't live up to these expectations likely won't thrive. The Vanara. Vanaras are intelligent monkey-like humanoids that live in deep, warm forests and lush jungles, particularly those of southern and central Casmarin. Vanaras are particularly numerous in the vast crying jungle region of Vudra, one of the densest, most verdant jungles on the continent. Vanaras are also the second largest demographic in Rajapal, the city of arches. A Vanara's body is covered in a thin coat of soft fur, and individuals with chestnut, ivory, or even golden coats are common. Despite their fur, Vanaras can grow lengthy hair on their heads just as humans can, and both male and female Vanaras take pains to wear elaborate hairstyles for important social functions. The hair on Vanara's head matches the color of its fur. All Vanara have long prehensile tails and hand-like feet, capable of well-articulated movements. A Vanara stands slightly shorter and weighs slightly less than a typical human. Vanaras on the whole are a boundlessly curious people, who also seem to have a natural penchant for pranks, which unfortunately means they often struggle to ingratiate themselves with people of other ancestries. Vanaras normally dwell in treetop villages, with the individual buildings connected by rope bridges or ladders. These communities are normally led by some sort of holy person, normally either a cleric, monk, or oracle. Although relatively rare in the Inner Sea, Vanaras are a comparatively common sight in the impossible kingdoms of Vudra, and are even incorporated into the country's caste system. In this part of the world, the Vanara are no strangers to hardship. In 4606, during the event often called the Death of Prophecy, off the coast of Vudra, the Abari Ocean receded, exposing a new land bridge, connecting those lands with a hidden realm, infested with hordes of ravaging aberrations. The former island homes of the Vanara lay along the land bridge, going from safe island havens to landlocked and surrounded by enemies in the space of a few years. Many Vanaras flocked to the fortresses and cities, such as Dalangar, of the open bridge region claimed by Vudra, desperate to find safety. Other, more militant Vanara continue to wage a war against the aberrations that invaded and destroyed much of their homelands, hoping to reclaim their ancestral lands. Yet others still find the tragedy of the Abari Ocean collapse to be a sign to move on, and they have instead chosen to travel to new lands, increasing the frequency with which Vanaras are found around the Inner Sea and in other regions of Golarion as well.
And that's 8 more ancestries for you and your players to use, a little more detail about each of them. If you want to see more ancestry videos, let me know in the comments below. Which ancestries do you want to hear about? Let me know. If you enjoyed this content, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.